The world is once again on edge as unexpected military movements shake the fragile balance of Eastern Europe. In a sudden and dramatic turn of events, a full U.S. Armored Brigade combat team has arrived in Poland, and almost immediately it began deploying eastward, straight toward Ukraine's border. This is not just another rotation of NATO troops. This is one of the most powerful combat formations in the U.S. Army, equipped with cutting-edge weaponry and thousands of highly trained soldiers. Its rapid arrival and movement has left Moscow stunned, prompting sharp warnings from Russian officials who describe the move as a provocation that could have serious consequences. So what exactly is happening in Poland and Ukraine right now? Why did the U.S. decide to move such a powerful force so quickly? And what does this mean for the war in Ukraine, for NATO, and for the security of Europe as a whole? Let's break it down, piece by piece. Since the Russian invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, Europe has been in a constant state of tension. For decades, NATO forces were mostly stationed in Western Europe, far from Russia's borders. But the invasion changed everything. Suddenly, Eastern Europe became the front line in a struggle between Moscow and the West. Countries like Poland, Romania, and the Baltic states turned into critical strongholds, essential for both logistics and deterrence. Poland in particular has emerged as the beating heart of NATO's eastern defenses. Geographically, it sits right next to Ukraine, making it a perfect gateway for supplies, weapons, and humanitarian aid flowing into the war zone. Politically, Poland has been one of Ukraine's strongest supporters, demanding tougher measures against Moscow and welcoming millions of Ukrainian refugees. Militarily, it has become the staging ground for NATO reinforcements, and its territory is now filled with bases, training grounds, and stockpiles of equipment. Because of all this, every single NATO deployment into Poland carries enormous weight. And when that deployment includes an armored brigade combat team, the significance is impossible to ignore. So what exactly is an armored brigade combat team? It is one of the heaviest and deadliest formations in the U.S. Army. Think of it as a complete war machine, over 4,000 soldiers, supported by hundreds of armored vehicles. Leading the charge are the legendary M1 Abrams main battle tanks, among the most powerful tanks in the world, capable of destroying enemy armor at long ranges while surviving heavy fire. Alongside them are the Bradley infantry fighting vehicles, which can transport troops quickly across the battlefield while providing significant firepower of their own. Then there's the artillery. The M109 Paladin self-propelled howitzers provide devastating long-range support, capable of striking targets dozens of kilometers away. Add in advanced reconnaissance units, engineers, logistics teams, and air defense systems, and you have a self-sufficient warfighting force that can deploy, fight, and sustain combat for extended periods. Normally, when these units rotate into Europe, they take time to settle, train, and integrate with Allied forces. But this time was different. As soon as the U.S. troops touched down in Poland, they began moving east, closer and closer to Ukraine. The speed of this mobilization shocked observers and immediately raised questions. Is this simply a show of force, or is it preparation for something much bigger? But what about Ukraine? For Kiev, this deployment is a tremendous boost to morale. While the American forces are not crossing into Ukraine or officially joining the fight, their presence so close to the border acts as a powerful deterrent. Russia knows that if it escalates the war beyond Ukraine's borders, it risks running directly into U.S. armored units. For Ukrainian soldiers on the front lines, the sight of Abrams tanks and Bradley vehicles just across the border is a symbol of hope. It shows that their struggle is not being ignored, that their allies are prepared to do more than just send weapons and money. Even without direct involvement, the shadow of U.S. armor looms large over the battlefield, shaping Russia's calculations and giving Ukraine greater breathing space. For NATO as a whole, the message is even clearer. This is about credibility. NATO has always promised to defend every inch of its territory, but promises are meaningless without action. By moving a full armored brigade into Poland and doing it so quickly, the alliance is proving that it can mobilize heavy forces across the Atlantic, deploy them into Eastern Europe, and position them for immediate operations. This is deterrence in action, showing your strength not to start a fight, but to prevent one. So, what does this all mean? It means that the war in Ukraine is no longer just a regional conflict. It has become a global confrontation, a test of willpower between NATO and Russia. The arrival of the US Armored Brigade in Poland is not just a tactical move, it is a strategic message, one that says, we are here, we are ready, and we will not allow Russia to intimidate our allies. For Russia, this is a shock. For NATO, it is a demonstration of strength. For Ukraine, it is a ray of hope. And for the rest of the world, it is a reminder of how fragile peace has become and how quickly events in one corner of Europe can ripple across the entire planet. The big question now is, where does this lead? Will the show of force succeed in deterring Russia, convincing it to scale back its aggression? Or will it backfire, pushing Moscow into even more dangerous decisions, escalating the conflict toward a direct NATO-Russia confrontation? As we watch these developments unfold, one thing is certain: the stakes could not be higher. Europe has once again a continent on edge, and the decisions made in the coming weeks could shape the course of history for decades to come. What do you think? Will NATO's display of power keep the peace, or will it drag us all closer to a larger war? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective. And don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more in-depth analysis on global security and geopolitics. Stay safe, stay informed, and see you in the next video.